Hi, I'm Jason Weaver, the greatest scientific mind of this generation.
Now I'm Eric Kostecki. If I had to be any subclass of mammalia, I'd have to be a Eutheria.
I'm making him smarter.
When you hit the speed of light, you get free pudding!
Baby steps. Ready for more science?
Is it gonna hurt?
It's gonna something.
Who was that?
I have no idea. But they want us to review a series that is 76 episodes long. That's more than we've ever done before. Can you handle it?
Banana pudding! I get more than you said, Trevor! He's coming day night, I mean, yes!
Progress!
Imagine, if you will, you're walking down the street. It's a normal day, when suddenly the world turns red. Time freezes, and giant babies start sucking blue fire out of people. You may have just entered a sealed zone, or eaten a McRib. Luckily, you might be safe if a little girl with fire hair and a fire sword shows up to fire save you, and everything's fine, except you are already dead. Then she'll tell you that you are just a replacement of the real you, and people won't notice you more and more until the fire inside you goes out, and you die again, thus saving existence from not existing. It's okay. Her necklace has a fire god crammed in it, and he helped explain further. We consulted a philosopher on this theory, and he had this to say.
Yuji Sakai has met the girl known only as the flaming-haired, blazing-eyed hunter bonded to Alistair, the flame of the... Her name is Shana. Yuji names her Shana, and for that I thank him. Shana! After Yuji tries desperately in vain to stop one of his friends from disappearing and being forgotten forever, Shana, having all the emotional tact of a very inconsiderate moose, crams herself into Yuji's class to keep an eye on him, using the remnants of his dead classmate's existence to take her place. Yes, existence is a quantifiable unit of measure now. We consulted a physicist on it. While Shana gets some kind of sick thrill from being able to think circles around Yuji's teachers and scare them out of their rooms, her main purpose for being there is figuring out why the Crimson Denizens are focused on attacking Yuji when they should be proud of just being able to tell them apart from half the kids in this school.
A guy wearing his whitest suit and brandishing his most possessed Raggedy Island doll seals the zone and declares his intentions to use Yuji's existence to, well, exist. Which doesn't he kinda have to already? I mean, things that don't exist can't do anything because they aren't things. The doll stroking Whitey makes a retreat, but not without leaving Shana some dead bodies to clean up. When she attempts to use one of the living classmates' existence as a metaphysical divot patch, good guy Yuji volunteers his own, seeing as he's gonna vanish soon regardless. Taken aback, but no less willing, Shana fixes the classroom and prepares to see Yuji fade away that night, until the stroke of midnight replenishes his flame completely, revealing what the denizens saw in someone this astoundingly vanilla.
Inside Yuji is an abstract MacGuffin known as the Midnight Lost Child that completely replenishes Yuji's existence every night at midnight as long as there's still some left, rendering Yuji a walking sub-tank if we're speaking in Mega Man terms, which we aren't. Pay attention! It's at this point that we start to meet our side characters. I'd give this more time, but the show got 3 goddamn seasons and I don't want to be here all day. So, really quick, Purple Book Hooker, Glasses Yuji, Old Guy, that one, Brock, I really thought she'd be a lesbian, is that racist? Blind Mom, and Rib Balloons. Side note, Miss S up front gets a crush on Yuji because he looked at her for a split second longer than anyone else once. But Shana's claimed Yuji for herself, if only in her own mind, because they spend so much freaking time together lately.
Shana commands Sadie Skin Sacks to step off her man, with the actually solid argument that she know nothing about him, and that her feelings are implausible and dumb. Despite that, we've got a forced love triangle now. Following Yuji and Shana getting some fights under their belts with denizens, and even another girl like Shana known as a Flame Haze, we delve into Shana's past, where she grew up on a floating island with naught but a maid and a skeleton to raise her. Why does that make perfect sense yet no sense at all. Shana proves herself by dumping ketchup on the skeleton. Brilliant! There's an explosion, and she's ready to take on the world. The maid pops in for a visit with Shana and Yuji, and decides the smartest way to stop a denizen from killing Yuji for the cheat code to life in his stomach is to paper cut him to death first. Shana talks her out of it, but she sticks around anyway for the finale.
Yuji is captured by Balmask, a bunch of denizens who plan to fuse him with a little girl and convert the entire city into a big pile of existing. But Shana and the other Flame Hazes will have none of that tomfoolery and rescue Yuji from his imprisonment by a little girl. But the city is still going to be destroyed. What's to stop that? Why, only one of the biggest explosions you've ever seen, of course. Shana, believing she and Yuji will both be destroyed in the blast, finally professes her love for the guy whose eyes are almost as disturbingly huge as hers. But lo and behold, everyone is still alive, order has been restored, and wouldn't you know it, Yuji didn't hear a word Shana said. So saints be praised, this issue gets danced around for the length of a whole new season.
When a new girl shows up to Yuji's class out of nowhere, he and Shana can't help but think she looks exactly like that doe-eyed little villain girl from the last season. But before Shana can up and stab the quiet right out of her face, she is convinced that since the little blue hair can't move inside the sealed zone like a normal human, she's just a kid that looks like a bad guy. Damn you, logic! You prevented another murder. Without knowledge of how close to death she just was, the girl begins forcing herself into Yuji's circle of friends. Everyone lets her because they think it's just so adorable how she doesn't even know how to dress herself or function in society. It is therefore the duty of every character to go out of their way to include her in episode after episode of Go Nowhere fluff.
They have study sessions together, go to the water park, and whoa! Back away from the edge of your seat. They get to be in a parade. The celebration does not last, thank Buddha. The little chick who everyone thought was a bad guy turns out to be the bad guy they thought she was.
With Balmask back in action, Yuji finds himself kidnapped again. The Midnight Lost Child is then yanked out of him so easily, one has to wonder why it wasn't that easy any of the other times someone tried it. It gets transplanted inside a Silver Knight creatively named Silver to Frankenstein him back to life while Yuji is leaking existence. Save him, hot one, maid, and the one that looks like she's 9! Silver gets destroyed because it has a moment of weakness and it wanted to look poetic. Or, some other dumb reason for it to just drop its weapon. Yuji gets the Midnight Lost Child back, and the bad guys go away just in time for a Merry Christmas and a happy 3rd season, in which Yuji has turned evil! And not only has he joined Balmask, he's the new leader! Before you can stop to think about how much sense that really makes.
Yuji disappeared after the events of the last season, because that's a thing he can do now. But when characters start to feel the presence of a big-ass Crimson Denizen, they discover it's just their old pal Yuji returned exactly the same as when he left. Except for the whole sharing his body with an evil snake god that turns him into a nigh-invincible badass that leaves other characters broken on his way to capture Shana and hold her prisoner while he goes about changing reality thing. While Yuji begins searching the acid trip dimension to get the snake god's body back, 2 Flame Hazes we barely know start attacking the Denizen's castle where Shana is being kept. Shana gets her sword back because this samurai was polite enough to come back to life and give it to her so she can go back to kicking ass and taking really long names. And that just pisses the camel right off.
With her power restored, Shana, whole kid, maid, and 4th one set off after Yuji before another 10 characters get introduced. Snake God of Creation finds his body, but Shana catches up to Yuji and literally says she will use the power of love to defeat the snake and make Yuji alone the God of Creation. Love in this situation being represented by a flaming anime sword. Yuji does her one better by declaring his intent to create a new world where denizens will all go live in peace so Shana and everyone like her no longer have to risk their lives fighting them. But since that's too perfectly reasonable to even think about considering, the fighting continues. Shana and the other Flame Hazes lose and retreat to come up with a new attack plan as opposed to just, letting Yuji win and fix everyone's problems.
After both sides gather characters no one knows and characters no one likes, the blue-haired chick gets sacrificed to start making Denizen Land and everyone goes back to killing each other. Shana, using the power of love and commanding Team Genocide, begins her final confrontation with Yuji, using the power of a snake god, leading Team Give Peace a Chance. As they fight, the world and story break down around them, everything stops making sense, the plot gets padded out by stuff that contradicts earlier stuff, human sacrifice, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria! The denizens hold off the flame hazes long enough for the new world to be created from their magic wishes of rainbow gumdrops and live peacefully. No one stops them or points out there was no real reason for them to have been fighting in the first place.
But it's not over yet!
Damn it!
Yuji bids farewell to the hideous monsters he helped. Some of the flame hazes follow the denizens to kill them, live with them. I don't know, there's a baby. Feel happy about stuff. Shana finds Yuji just as he fiendishly restores the city and the lives of everyone eaten by the denizens, securing his place as the most helpful villain ever. They work their problems out with more fighting before deciding to just stop and live together in the new world Xanadu. So they went through all of this just to remake Citizen Kane's house.
Hey there, I knew you'd be up here.
Aren't you smart?
Shana is one of the few instances where the Tsundere Ice Queen archetype actually kind of makes sense. The only outlet she's had for her emotions for the longest time was fighting, so it makes sense she doesn't know how to express herself otherwise. And really, how normal would you be if you were raised by a skeleton and made that wore combat boots? You'd be pretty messed up too. How messed up? This messed up. Hey Jason!
His name is Yuji. Thank you, and good night.
This show had potential to be more than just a mediocre action romance. The core concepts driving the series sound good on paper, but the way they were implemented in the series does not make it shine. Everyone just seems to be going through the motion. There's no real heart to it. The best way I could put it, it's just telling you the story. You're not actually experiencing it. This becomes extremely relevant in the final season, where logic is thrown to the wind and everyone seems to blurt out their exact reasoning and feelings all the time. It doesn't leave the viewer any chance to make inferences or come to any conclusions on their own. This also makes any conflict in the show seem trivial. Overall, I felt if the main characters could have just kept their mouths shut for a little bit, Shakugan No Shana would have shown a lot brighter.
Shakugan no Shana started off with some really solid episodes dealing with great concepts, the malleability of our perceptions and memories as they fade over time, add in some good music and artistic effects that only get better. How can a story mess that up? Well, hypothetically, if it kept introducing and wasting time with characters that it had no idea what to do with, paced itself schizophrenically, had the story out with dull, unoriginal slice-of-life episodes, turned into a generic magic people throwing magic at each other show, and just kept going until it hit a point where it just threw its hands up and tied all of its toys to fireworks to make so many cool explosions that no one notices the failure behind the pretty colors, for instance. And so we've got all these human characters from the first two seasons we spent all this time with, and then come the third season, they're replaced by these flame hazes who are just fighting and dying pointlessly. And speaking of that, I'm pretty sure I've died 5 times since the show started airing. Explain that!
But Jason, if you start questioning that, then we have to explain what happens with all the dead bodies at the end.
Alright guys, from the top. And a 1, and a 2. There's a light, there's a sound. It's hard to breathe when you're underground. Can you hear me now? That was awful. Shut up, Beatles Jason.
Jason likes his prostate exams! Yes! If I could be any subclass of mammalia, I'd be a urethra.
They have study sessions. I can save it. I can save it.
God damn it.